Ooh, I look like one of those old hip-hop music videos. Like very fisheye effects.
When you were playing that record, what were you thinking?
As you guys can tell by the title of this video, we're going to be talking about names. Growing up in elementary and middle school, I wasn't really a fan of my first name being Christopher. There wasn't that much strength to it. It wasn't cool like the Kyles, the Dereks, and the Justins. It was just Christopher. I looked upon myself very negatively. I was socially awkward. I felt like I was a loser. And at one point in time, I felt like all the difficulties in my life came from just my first name. Nickelodeon was and still might be the #1 channel for kids, and back then I used to watch Fairly OddParents, Danny Phantom, SpongeBob, The Last Airbender. But Fairly OddParents sticks out the most because I remember there was a character named Chester, and my sister, and I guess both of my parents too because I just asked them, they did recall me saying multiple times, I want my name to be Chester instead of Christopher. What added even more disdain to my own name was the way that it looked on a screen or the way that it looked on paper. Now, when I was younger, Jackie Chan was probably the most prominent Asian American actor in Hollywood. His name sounds good. His name looks good on the screen. Christopher Chu does not. I mean, don't get me wrong, names are super important. Yours is super important. If you think about like the Hollywood actors like DiCaprio, Tom Cruise, Margot Robbie, Charlize Theron, Lucy Liu, all of their names kind of have like the special meaning behind it, and they sound super famous. In high school, I ran cross country and track all 4 years, and I went up against these guys named Daniel Barricott, Chris Waschura, and Michael Berry. And these guys were fast. Like if you heard their name on the intercom and they're going up against you, you knew it was like game over. You knew that they were going to get first place gold medal. Their names sounded famous already from the get-go. Like they were destined for the role. But the special feeling behind their name, is it special because of the way it sounds or what it actually represents? Imagine you were on the street and you were just walking around and you ran into this random dude, this Joe Schmo, and they introduced themselves as George Clooney. Now it's obvious they're not the George Clooney, the A-list celebrity that we all know and love, but isn't it kind of weird that they have the same exact name? It's two different people, but the name doesn't mean the same exact thing. Which brings me to my very interesting point. Names don't make a person makes a name. This is my friend An, who's a pastor out here in the Bay Area, and he and I have been like friends for a good handful of years. And he actually played a pivotal role for me at the end of 2019. He was one of the key players who led me down this like road of acceptance, like me accepting myself for who I am, for every single part of me. And this foundational like change allowed me to do YouTube as well. For those of you who are not Asian, his name is like pretty different and pretty unusual.
So I'm a refugee, so I grew up in Eastside San Jose, and I'm the oldest out of 4, so my name is An. It's pronounced on, like on and off. So you probably already know now, like that word was so many name calling made fun of, like, you know, and so if people had a joke about my name, it was like, are you on? Are you off? And then just so many puns of like the word on. And unfortunately, since I'm the oldest, my siblings, Angelique, Antoine, and Alphonse, they were named those names because my dad and mom came to the States as a refugee from Vietnam, and they watch a lot of French movies, and so those were their names. And so I got I guess the short end of the stick of just my name On. And so I always disliked my name because it was just, one, it's unisex, and so it's for a guy, for a girl, and so I always got like, oh, isn't On like a girl's name or like or a guy's name? I said, yeah, and they're always like, yeah, I met a girl named On, and that's kind of funny, right? And so I was like, no, it's not in my head, but that was the case. And I got really, I would say, really fierce my name when I was in grade school, because I was made fun of so much of my name that I decided to change my name. So I changed it to the most American name possible. It was Joe. So it was Joe Trung, because I was hanging out with all these other people, and they were like, did you ever want to change your name? And I said, yeah, I want to change it to Joe. And so I probably had the name for like about like maybe 2 weeks, and the name Joe just didn't sit well. And so like I think by then like I put it on like my backpack or like my name like to change in like 5th grade, and people started calling me Joe outside. But I was like, you know, it just doesn't look right. And so I changed it back to On, like probably before middle school. I started embracing my name probably much more when I was in high school and college, because it was the name that my father named me, my parents named me. And actually, I became much more comfortable with my name when I learned about my heritage, where I came from. So my parents, I'm a refugee, so my parents came over from the war in Vietnam, from the South. My mom escaped through a boat, got rescued by another boat. My dad walked through Cambodia, and we ended up in a refugee camp. So I was born in a refugee camp. So my name was literally birthed from a movement of a people group from Vietnam that wanted to better themselves, to leave a nation in a place that they felt in danger, no longer welcomed, and they wanted to thrive elsewhere, and happened to be in the U.S. So to me, my name has much more meaning behind it. And so embracing it has been a journey, and I still am. And I still get the jokes of like, On, like is that like on and off? Like what's the phonetics of it? And but there is like a sense of pride and proudness, not because of my name, but where I came from, and it came from my parents. So Dad Noik and my mom Ta, like, I love you, and you get my name, so I'm proud of it. So I will carry on that name until I die, really.
This could be a very odd and peculiar like video topic, conversation topic to be listening to right now, but there are some people who struggle with, you know, their name, and it's more rooted in this like problem of self-acceptance. So at the end of last year and kind of a little bit at the beginning of this year, I was kind of like under this notion that I was just too much for people, and most of that like notion was rooted in how passionate I was in the things that I engaged in. So for example, like this photography, like camera work stuff, and just how energetic I am. I thought that started to become like too much for people, that I was encroaching, making them feel uncomfortable, pressing on them too much, and I was just rocking the boat a little bit too often. So I started to suppress my personality so that I could accommodate for people's comfort and just fade into the background. And it's kind of ridiculous because like, how could a strength ever be a weakness? Sorry, I had to lose the beanie. The conversation topic is heating up too much. I think for some creative people out there, and I speak kind of like from experience, that we care too much about what people think, and we preemptively try to think about what they're going to say or what they're going to like feel about the way that we do things, and we kind of like preemptively try to counteract that by either suppressing our personality or overextending ourselves to kind of meet that need that other people want from us, when in fact that's just like anxiety taking over, and none of that stuff is ever true. And if people are trying to mutate you and trying to just like kind of twist you into their cookie cutter template, past the point of consideration, because I feel like everybody should be considerate of other people's like space and time and feelings. If you're not being inconsiderate, if you're not being a plain and simple douche and like hurting people, if you're not doing any of that, then don't care about what other people think. Be you. The way that you rock that sparkly jacket, the way that you rock vibrant colors, the way that you rap, the way that you take pictures, and the way you paint, and even the way you think about things. There is nothing wrong with that. That is art. The way that you are is art. So be you. There's nothing wrong with being you. What's wrong with that? The way that you do things and the career that you choose, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I was finally able to do that at the beginning of this year, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I started this YouTube channel, because I finally don't care about what other people think. And I'm not being a douche. I'm not hurting the general population, so I know I'm not doing that. Yeah, hearing my voice is still kind of weird. I stutter like crazy. I still have acne as an adult. I have these goods, I have these bads. See, I already messed up my words. But I don't give a crap anymore. That's just me, yo. And there's nothing wrong with that, so I'm just gonna be me. Back then as a kid, I hated my name because I thought it would just like represent a weakness and losership and all this other negative stuff. And growing up, there were still parts of me that like I really disliked, but now, today, I love my name. I love what I represent, and I represent something that's greater than me, because I know for a fact that me, as a person, really not that special. And I don't mean that in a very like self-deprecating way, like, oh, I still suck or whatever. No, me as a whole, I'm not that special. The universe doesn't revolve around me, okay? Like, I'm just a regular dude still trying to figure things out, but what I represent is bigger than me, which is what helps me realize that my actions and my behavior and my courage can help people move along in their own process by me just being me. Can you imagine starting tomorrow that you just act yourself like very confidently, and then you encourage your other friend who's close to you who's struggling with that same identity crisis, and then see you comfortable in your own skin, and they're like, what does he have or what does she have that I don't have? Then it makes them question, like, why am I trying to mutate myself to fit into the world? Let me just be myself. You know how much power there is in that? Your best work, your best actions, your best creativity comes from that solid foundation of you being confident in who you were born to be and who you were meant to be. And that's up to you to find out. I can't tell you the answer to that. That's up to you to like journal, reflect, and think about. But remember this, your name represents a lot more than you think. Your name holds a lot of weight. You can represent something bigger than yourself, and by you just being you, that's already like extending outside of yourself, and you could spur on courage to some other young kid, some other young creative, or older folk, that they can do that too, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In that famous balcony scene, Romeo and Juliet, the star-crossed lovers were, like having their little monologue, dialogue type thing going on, and Juliet said, "A rose by any other name, la-di-da-di-da," I don't remember the rest of the line, but what she was trying to say was that what Romeo represents to her, like his character and the ethos of his entirety, of his existence, it could be renamed into whatever thing possible, because the name doesn't matter. And bringing it back here, I could have been named Justin, Michael, Peter, Terrence, what have you, but my name is Chris Chu, and I'm proud to have that name, and I hope you're proud of yours. That's all I have for you guys. Hope you guys have a good one, and to just be you. Peace.
People will know you, and they will add their prayers to your life. They'll wish you well. I think if your name is mentioned and people say, "Oh hell, oh damn," I think you're doing something wrong. But if your name is mentioned and people say, "Oh, she's so sweet, he's so nice, oh I love, oh God bless her," there you are. So try to live your life in a way that you will not regret years of useless virtue and inertia and timidity. Take up the battle. Take it up. It's yours. This is yours.